All right, everybody, we are live with the Combatcast. It's the man they call Dave. It's Chevy. And before we get going, let's talk about that sponsor.
Yes, we'd like to thank the sponsor, Game Up. They make a thirst-quenching adult beverage with a special blend of electrolytes. Comes in 4 great flavors: fruit punch, orange, lemon, lime, and grape.
That's right. And it's only 110 calories. It's a low-carb drink. So, guys, enjoy yourself. Game Up. Don't feel guilty about it. And enjoy the Combatcast. And let's tell everybody what we got coming up, Chevy.
November 23rd, UFC Fight Night, Jan versus Figueiredo. That's a 6 a.m. Eastern card from China. And then November 30th, no fight. So we're going to go back in the time machine, review a classic fight, Hagler versus Hearns.
The greatest boxing fights of all time.
And then December 7th, UFC 310 was going to be Bilal versus Shavkat, but Bilal is out, and the UFC has not announced who will be the main event in that yet.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, Bilal's out too. So I wonder, is Shavkat definitely out too?
No, I know people have, Kobe called him out and stuff. We'll see. Who should call him out is Leon Edwards. He should be vying for that.
Right, now try to slip back in there, right?
Yeah, but I haven't heard anything from him, so we'll see.
Interesting. All right, well, let's hop into this past weekend's fight night card before we get to the big stuff of the day. I got to see the main event and the end of the co-main event. Chevy, before we get to your thoughts on this past weekend's card, was there any other fight you wanted to shout out here?
Jillian Robertson got a decision win over Luana Pinheiro. Jillian moving on. Hopefully she fights a top 8 girl going forward. And then obviously Cody Garbrandt versus Miles John was supposed to be the co-main event. Cody had to pull out for some undisclosed reason. So we got RDR, Renner de Ritter, the former one middleweight and light heavyweight champion, versus Gerald Meerschaert.
Interesting. So that's a quick turnaround.
Well, no, that's the fight that just happened. That was the co-main event.
Oh.
That ended up being the co-main event instead of
right.
Yeah, they moved it up.
Which I actually did see the end of, and it looked like it was a very competitive matchup. I know we thought that he might coast through this, but it ended up being a very competitive kind of grappling match, correct?
Yeah, it was a horrendous striking. It was absolutely horrendous. RDR was able to get the arm triangle in round 3, but not an impressive fight. It was very close. There's a lot of grappling. The guys have trained together in the past, so that could have thrown some stuff off. But I just think the UFC is levels above these other organizations, because no disrespect to Gerald Meerschaert, but former 2-division champion in another organization should be running through him.
Sure. I mean, that just shows you why UFC is the pinnacle when it comes to that top competition. And this main event, man, I mean, I'll just let you give your thoughts about it, but I saw it, and Magny, like I said off air with you, just a glancing blow, and he was out. I mean, there was a moment in the beginning where I think he did, I don't know if it was a takedown, but he had top control for a little bit, but it didn't last long. And this guy, Carlos, he's got some power.
Neil's a tough guy to put away too. He's only been knocked out a few times. But I just think that Carlos just has that touch of God, Diego Lopez and Connor had at featherweight, where, you don't classify them just as the hardest hitters, but they're just so accurate, and the things that you wouldn't necessarily seem to put people to sleep, put them to sleep. I mean, Neil was out. He was face down on the canvas immediately. He was out cold. So, he's also 38 years old. So maybe time to step away at this point. He has a few losses in a row. He can't beat these up and comers. So, great career for him either way. But Carlos called out Usman, I believe. I think that's a good matchup.
Yeah. Great call out. I hope he gets it. I don't know if it's too early, and I know Usman's probably looking for bigger fights. But
Usman's probably calling for this fight against Shavkat,
Right. Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Just look back in there against Bilal. new champion, could work yourself right in. So
Yep.
All right, before we get to UFC 309, we're going to talk about that. We got to talk about the other big event in combat sports this weekend. Friday night, November 15th, live on Netflix. That's an 8 p.m. start. I believe it's a 4-fight main card, too. I looked at this morning. I definitely know there's the co-main event is Taylor
Serrano, versus Katie Taylor.
There's another welterweight title to defense, and I think they might have added another one. I don't know. So, what time these guys get to the actual ring? I heard it. You could expect it around 10, but it's boxing. I would say between 10 and 11. But Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson, and it's a gimmick fight, but it's definitely an interesting gimmick fight because. Did you watch the countdown special too?
Yeah, I watched the 2 episodes.
Okay, I watched the third one. I
didn't watch the third one yet. Yeah.
And it's just so to me, it's just jarring where they just the way they talk about Mike Tyson, because they are talking about Mike Tyson in the past tense, but they're trying to present it to you.
Yeah, 30 years ago, Mike Tyson.
Right. Mike's got that style, and he doesn't need to change it. It's been effective. And it's like, it was effective, 30 years ago. It's not, and to me, it's like this man's reflexes are clearly going to be slowed down against a younger, more athletic guy who's in his 20s. And granted, he's not a boxing purist, but he does put into work. And
he has power.
But that's where it gets interesting, right? Because the last thing to go in a heavyweight is power. Mike Tyson still has that power. He's still in shape. And Jake isn't a boxing purist. I just feel like, to me, the more I thought about this fight, it's going to be Jake Paul's speed and reflexes. And just, can he take out Tyson early or later, and just avoid getting hit? And I guess that's going to be the big question, because especially if he gets hit early on, this could be a bad night for him. I got to pick Jake Paul because I think he just knows what he's doing. I think they can't pick this fight on purpose, that he's an older man. But I won't be shocked if Mike Tyson just catches him on the chin. I mean, as good as some of those MMA fighters were that he fought, they weren't boxers, even if they were striking, even though they were younger. None of those guys, including Anderson Silva, was a heavyweight Mike Tyson. And even though Mike's 58 years old, that power is still going to be a potential danger here.
Yeah, it's tough. Honestly, there isn't much to break down because there's so many variables.
Right.
Like what's Mike going to look like at 58 with ulcers, stomach ulcers. Yeah. And I mean, he looks like he's on a whole bunch of sauce. So he's super jacked, but is that affecting any other health issues he might have? Is this even a real fight?
Right.
Or is it going to be like the Roy Jones thing where they're really respectful to one another and not go full blast? But I mean, if it is a real fight, which I hope it is, and I think it could be at this point. They're going to make a lot of money on Netflix.
Right.
And this is a first live sporting event on Netflix. So it's a big deal for them as well. So I don't think they would buy into the BS, but this is a fight game and Netflix can get scammed by any fight promotion. But
sure.
If this is a real fight, whoever lands first really could get the KO. I normally you would pick Tyson, but he's 58 years old. Jake is like half his age. So it's tough. Jake's powerful. He's quick. Cardio could be an issue for both guys. I mean, Tyson used to have cardio, but again, 58 years old. Jake, not the best cardio, but
and this isn't Jake's natural weight too.
And the time, each round is 1 minute less, so that adds to increases the cardio. So I don't know. It's just Jake is just so much younger.
Yeah,
I would like to see Mike Tyson win. It's going to hurt to see him get knocked out if that happens.
Yeah.
But I don't think
want to see him get hurt or outclassed.
I don't think that's going to happen. I think Jake really respects Tyson, and I think he's trying to put him on. He talked about it a little bit in the countdown, how a lot of these guys, a lot of his fans, because they're younger, they don't know Mike Tyson, So I think he's trying to show his legacy, extend his legacy a little bit longer. But with that being said, I don't think he's going to give up a loss because he can get a lot of money out of this with fights going forward. So,
and this is the thing too, like, they talked a little about his countdown. I although obviously, things get played up, I don't think it's a joke when they say Jake Paul really needs to win this fight. Obviously, he can still keep this circus going for a little bit, but it loses a ton of steam if he gets knocked out by a 58-year-old Mike Tyson. Like, this really does not have any of the momentum. I honestly think, as crazy as that, I think he would probably do MMA in the PFL, and they would start cherry picking those fights and try to build that experiment next. That would be my guess. But if he does beat Tyson, like a younger, athlete, you think would, maybe, because again, it is still Mike Tyson and that power. And he's probably going to at least get a couple more fights, and he'll try to ride this into an actual real competitive big-time boxing fight without fighting any top 10 boxers. It would be my guess.
Well, if he knocks out Mike Tyson, you're going to see a lot of angry real boxers calling him out because they're going to be coming for this. I don't understand this move from Jake. Everyone's going to hate him if he knocks out Tyson. I mean, everyone over the age of 25 is going to hate him anyway. So, I think real boxers are going to be coming for him. And I think Jake, he's looking forward to that. I don't think he's worried about it. So respect to him. I think he's going to win a decision. I don't think he's going to put Tyson to the sword.
How many rounds? Remember? Is it 8 or 10?
Eight rounds, I believe. And I think Tyson will probably tire out or he'll look slow. But that first 1 or 2 rounds, Jake better mind his P's and Q's.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's get to the big event this weekend. I think the big event still. UFC 309, Madison Square Garden. Jon Jones defends his heavyweight championship against the heavyweight GOAT, Stipe Miocic. And, Jones, I don't know. He hasn't fought that much recently. Stipe hasn't fought in forever. So I don't know what to expect here again. But these are the two greats, when it comes to MMA and specifically the MMA heavyweight division with Stipe. But let's get to the rest of this. Oh, before we even get to the main card, is there any other fight you want to put a little shine on here?
Before any of the fights, I want to point out that I read recently that they're using the old gloves.
I wanted to talk about this.
Yes. They're using the old gloves. I know the knockout statistics have gone down since June when they introduced these new gloves. Mm-hmm. But their new gloves are made to avoid eye pokes.
Yes.
And there's a certain someone on this card who is the king of poking people in their fucking eyes.
And this guy too has notoriously complained and gotten his way with other things too. Like he's had referees change. Like he didn't like John McCartney back in the day. Mm-hmm. And, he had Herb put in there instead, like he's definitely complaining. And I'm not saying that's what happened, but it is a little suspicious that when Jon Jones comes back, now we're going to have these gloves again. And it just sounds like I can almost just hear, I'm not used to these. If we're going to do this, I'm not going to fight, because that is Jon. Like, he's pulled out of fights before because of certain reasons. Even Chael Sonnen, a fight that he would have dominated and did go on to dominate because there was a change in opponent. He didn't like it. He pulled out. So whatever. We don't know, but it definitely this is very suspicious at times.
Just worth noting that, when you see these eye pokes, that if there's a big increase in them or whatever, it's not just from the old gloves. It's also because Jon Jones is trash. Right. But on the prelims, keep an eye out for
Weidman.
Yeah, Weidman versus Eryk Anders. A couple of old guys going at it. Also, Jim Miller versus Damon Jackson is on the card as well. So shout out to these legends, some veterans. Mickey Gall's on there. Not a legend, but a fan favorite for sure. There's a couple Veronica Hardy's on the early prelims as well. So
yeah, and I can honestly say I don't know who's going to win that Weidman Anders fight because I thought Weidman looked good enough then I still think his chin is a little suspect, but I feel like if he can institute his wrestling and keep his distance, he might be able to. I don't see him getting a finish, but I could see him maybe pulling off a decision here too.
Anders is very up and down as well. So both guys are near the end of their carear, so
it'll be an interesting fight. Let's get to this main card. Okay.
Well, we got to talk about on the main card, on the undercard, Bo Nickal versus Paul Craig. I'm very excited for this fight. Bo Nickal's a minus 1,100 favorite, which I think is a bit disrespectful to Paul Craig. But I understand Bo's the biggest prospect or whatever in the sport. And most people assume he's going to finish Craig. But
this is on the main card?
It is on the main card.
Okay.
It's I also assume he's going to get the finish. But I don't know. We'll see. I wouldn't be surprised if Paul Craig got locked up some sort of triangle choke or something.
I'll review this one real quick because Bo Nickal 6-0 undefeated. 4 subs, 2 KOs. He has everything's been a finish so far early in his career. And Paul Craig 17-8-1, jiu-jitsu ace, 4 KOs, 13 subs. All Paul's fights have been finishes actually too that he's won. So it's a real fan. I'm going to go with Bo, but man, I could see Paul Craig pulling out a submission here rather easily. Paul's, submitted Magomedov, so like he's definitely capable of pulling out a submission.
Yeah. All right, sorry, I jumped the gun. I was really excited for that one, but let's go through the beginning of the card here really quick.
It's all right.
Mauricio Rufy versus James Longtop.
All right, James is 14-4, 7 KOs, 1 sub, 6 decision, 0-2 in the UFC, so he wants to win. But Mauricio 10-1. 10 KOs, 10 KOs.
Yeah.
Every fight's a knockout. And 1-0 in the UFC. This clearly was a showcase fight if I ever saw one. I go up against a guy who's currently 0-2. I got Mauricio. I'm going to go first round knockout, not to be disrespectful, but I feel like this is what we're setting up here, and we want to kick this card off in a bang. So Mauricio, round 1, TKO.
Yeah, I'm with you. Round 1 TKO. Mauricio is a minus 850, which we're just talking about Bo Nickal being minus 1,100, but minus 850 is huge in MMA, especially the biggest, promotion in the world. So that's I agree with you 100%. Showcase fight for Rufy, and probably first round knockout, and then James is probably getting sent back to Peru and getting cut from the UFC, unfortunately, but. Moving on, women's flyweight top 10 fight here. Viviane Araujo versus Karine Silva.
All right, Viviane is, I forgot to put her record, but she's got 3 KOs, 4 subs, and 5 decisions. So she's got 12 wins.
12 wins, 6 losses.
6 losses. Okay, I also have she's lost 3 out of her last 4. So that's notable right there. Silva is 18-4, 9 KOs, 8 subs, 1 decision, coming off her first decision win, and is 4-0 in the UFC and on a 9-fight win streak. This again looks like it's possibly going to go be a showcase fight. I will take Silva. I don't know if she will get the finish though. Looking at Viviane, she's I think only been TKO'd once. It was like her first fight, something like that. She's not had a lot of like losses. Like she's been submitted here or there, decision. So I don't think she's going to get finished. So I'll take Karine Silva by decision.
Yep, I agree 100%. I think this is another showcase fight. Karine Silva is a monster. She's an up-and-comer for sure, very dangerous. Keep an eye on her, dark horse in the division. But I'm with you. Arroyo is a vet, very tough, like you said, very difficult to finish. So I think the UFC's testing her to make sure that she can, go 3 rounds. So I'm going to pick Silva by decision as well.
All right. Co-main event.
All right. Co-main event. Charles Oliveira de Bronx versus Michael Chandler. This is number 2.
Charles is 34-10, 34-10-1, 10 KOs, 21 subs, 3 decisions. He's a former lightweight champion. He's had fight of the night 3 times, and this is important, performance of the night 13 times. He is an exciting fighter. Michael Chandler is 23-8, 11 KOs, 7 subs, 5 decisions. Former Bellator lightweight champion too. should be noted. Performance of the night 2 times and fight of the night 2 times. And this is a guy who hasn't been in the UFC very long. I want to say 5 fights, so pretty much 4 performance bonuses already. So he's an exciting fighter. They fought before. Chandler had him in trouble, and then he got caught. Chandler has not fought. He's fought very excitingly. I'll say that. He's been very exciting since he's fought, and I don't think he's fought necessarily the best game plans here. Now, I saw Chandler talk about that he doesn't think anyone can beat him when he's dialed in and focused and he fights smart. Let's test that out. I'd like to see that. I'd like to see a dialed in Michael Chandler for this fight but he's had a lot of time off. He's waited for that Conor McGregor fight. That could be the curse of curses. We will see. Charles Oliveira should be the favorite here. I would say by submission or TKO, round 3 would be a smart bet, maybe, because I think they're going to throw fire here. But I don't know. I smell something in the air. I'm going to go Chandler. I could be wrong, but I just feel like I believe him when he says he's going to be dialed in and he's going to be rested and I think he's going to look sharp here. I think Chandler will pull off a decision.
Yeah, I'm right with you. Yeah, Oliveira, got that second round KO, but Chandler was close to getting a 10-8 in the first round, and then got clipped and Oliveira finished him. But he got knocked down. Oliveira got knocked down in the first round, and he almost got submitted with a guillotine, if I remember correctly. Chandler was looking great. And I'm with you. I think the whole issue with Conor, the whole fight not coming together has lit a fire under him. So he's been continuously training for that fight because he didn't know when it was going to happen, but he hasn't been taking a bunch of damage, being active. So that could work in his favor. He's looked great. I think mentally he knows that he has 1 or 2 more, and it's just galvanized him. I think he's very focused, like you said. I love Charles, but I'm with you. I think Chandler has an aura about him right now, and I think he gets a round 2 KO this time.
Okay. I think, but we're both saying we're picking that as an upset. Like the smart money probably would be on Charles based on everything we've seen in the past, but yeah, I just think there's upset written there.
Chandler's also like 37 or 38 or something. Yeah. So, and at lightweight, that's pretty old.
Right.
But he stays in great shape, so I think he's going to be okay. But let's move on to a couple other old guys. Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic, heavyweight championship for now. MSG, let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it. Stipe, 20-4, 15 KOs, 5 decisions. You're not submitting this. You're not submitting Stipe. UFC heavyweight champion 2 times, 4 successful title defenses. This guy has just been victorious in more heavyweight championship fights than anybody. So that's why Stipe is considered to go. Jon Jones, 27-1-1, 10 KOs, 7 subs, 10 decisions. Despite that 1-1, this is a guy who was never really defeated. He had 1 disqualification loss. He's always found a way to win. He was dominant at light heavyweight, winning that title twice. He now won the heavyweight championship in dominant fashion. But there are some stuff to note. As much as, everybody will talk about the invincible Jon Jones. At light heavyweight, towards the end, he looked very vulnerable. He had some competitive fights with guys who did not go on to win the light heavyweight championship. All right. And at heavyweight, physically, I wouldn't say he looked the best walking in that octagon, but he met a guy who had really no wrestling. Jon immediately was able to take him down and submit him. So this is interesting. Now, again, though, much like in the boxing world, we're talking about Jake Paul and Mike Tyson. There's just so many variables here. It's like Stipe, this isn't necessarily the Stipe we just saw last. Stipe's been out for years now himself and hasn't fought at all. And Stipe's been through so many battles. Much like I said the last time, the smart money is probably on Jon Jones. He's the most dominant. I'm not going to pick Stipe, unlike when I picked Chandler, but I do think that there is a possibility for an upset here. I think it's very interesting and telling that Jones has been injured and he's still not fought at this weight class a lot. If this gets out of the first round and it's not a situation where Stipe gets put on his back early in a wrestling type thing, we start getting to round 3, start 4, That could be very interesting cardio-wise, especially if Stipe still has some gas in the tank. I'm not going to be shocked. I mean, I guess I'd be surprised, but I still won't be shocked if Stipe can find a way to pull off this victory. But smart money's on Jon. I'm going to say, I don't even know. I'm going to be very specific here. I don't think he'll even make Stipe tap. I think Stipe will probably get choked out because I think Stipe will probably just try to fight it. And you're probably looking at round 2 because I just feel like this is an older version of Stipe, and Jon's going to be desperate to try to take him down and do what he can here. We'll see how it goes, though. I can honestly say I really do not know what to expect in this fight, given the inactivity of both men.
Yeah, I mean, just thank God that this fight is happening so the division can move on. We all know Aspinall's the real champ at this point, right?
Yeah.
But this is an interesting matchup. Stipe, greatest UFC heavyweight of all time, most title defenses at heavyweight for sure. Jones is the greatest overall fighter of all time outside of Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson. Even if Jones is tested positive for banned substances, I think that rules him out for me. But Stipe's had a few years off like Chandler to heal up, not taking a bunch of damage after that brutal KO from Francis. But he's also 42 years old. Chandler's 38, we mentioned, looking great. I mean, 42 and 38, there's a big difference in athletic years. That being said, that means a little bit less at heavyweight. The prime is pushed, the peak years are pushed a little bit further down the timeline. So Stipe, while he's not in his prime, he's not that far outside of it. So he's also very well-rounded.
Yes.
And just like Jon, he has great wrestling. And I would argue in the striking department, he has one punch KO power where at least at heavyweight, Jon has not proven that. He didn't have it at light heavyweight, so it's not likely he'll have it at heavyweight. So that's a big plus for Stipe. And Jon does get hit. And in that little bit of time that we saw against Cyril Gane, Jon looked pretty slow.
Right.
Although that was years ago at this point too. I'm sure his body is changed. He maybe has adapted to heavyweight better, and but we'll see. I mean, I'd love for Stipe to beat Jon up for a few rounds and then get a spectacular KO finish, and it's possible for sure.
It's definitely possible.
Very possible. I don't think people are giving Stipe the respect or credit that he deserves.
Even though I picked Jon as a second round submission, I could see Stipe getting a second or third round TKO.
Yeah.
Because we've not seen that jaw tested, that chin tested at heavyweight.
Yeah. But I'm with you. I just think it's more likely that Jon's going to win. I don't think he submits Stipe. I think it's more likely he outpoints him to a decision after poking him in the eyes at least 3 times. If you're going to bet money on this fight, bet on how many eye pokes, over 3 eye pokes.
All right, guys.
And then also, Jon Jones, he's going to retire after this. New York is his home. This fight is at MSG. He's from New York. He's going to retire and drop the belt. He's not going to fight Tom Aspinall. Maybe after he retires, he gets coaxed to come back and fight Poatan in some, catchweight fight or a heavyweight fight that's not a title fight. But Jon Jones is going to retire after this fight if he wins.
I was actually going to tell you I would not be shocked if Jon finds a way around Aspinall and gives Alex Pereira a shot and then he retires, because I feel like he sees the wrestling gap that Pereira has and feels like he could exploit that, and that's where he would try to get away with that. I could see it either way. I think we're on the same page a little bit here. You're saying immediate retirement, but yeah, I think definitely he avoids Tom at all costs. It is
funny because that's how Jon won the light heavyweight belt. He fought older Shogun. Yeah. And now he won't give the younger guy a shot. So,
for sure.
Yeah.
All right. You know what? Normally we'll tell you what's going on, but we're going to get out of here. There's so much fights to talk about this weekend. Guys, just check it out. Reminder, Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson live on Netflix this Friday, and UFC 309 this Saturday. Thank you for enjoying the Combatcast. We'll see you next week, and enjoy some Game Up.
If you haven't tried Game Up, then you are missing out. Imagine your favorite seltzer and your favorite sports drink had a baby, but it's way better than that. Each can is 110 calories, low carb, 4.9 ABV. It's a nice light drink that is not light on flavor. Game Up comes in fruit punch, orange, lemon, lime, and grape. Pick it up at drinkgameup.com or at your nearest liquor